Our journey began in Tel Aviv, the country's second most populous city. Sitting alongside the Mediterranean Sea, its name translates to Spring Hill. As fortune would have it, our first night occurred as the city celebrated its annual White Night event. All of the cultural venues remain open all evening as her residents and visitors celebrate her many attractions. There were 13 of us plus an outstanding tour guide, Romy, and driver, Shlomi, discovering a country rich in history, both ancient and modern. A history she continued to write as we explored her mountains and valleys. One of our early and most fascinating excursions took us to a kibbutz built in 1946 for the sole purpose of secretly manufacturing bullets in anticipation of an Israeli battle for independence and in violation of British rule. 25 feet below its laundry room, a sophisticated factory was established that was known only to the 45 workers laboring within its walls. The secret was so well maintained that its existence did not become known until 1980.
Getting that kind of license requires a very, very good cover story.
It was able to obtain the needed brass for the ammunition manufacturing by claiming to be producing kosher lipstick. Stories of the ingenious means of successfully keeping the secret, not only to the British, but the other approximate 55 kibbutz residents, were fascinating. Theodor Herzl, journalist, playwright, political activist, is considered the father of modern political Zionism. Founder of the World Zionist Organization, he worked to promote Jewish immigration to Palestine in order to form a Jewish state. It was only fitting that the declaration by Ben-Gurion of the formation of the independent state of Israel be made beneath Herzl's photograph in Independence Hall, now a museum and once the former home of Tel Aviv's first mayor. Here, in this special place, we all listened to the broadcast of this historic event and stood to sing the Israeli national anthem.
בארץ ישראל קם העם היהודי, בה עוצבה דמותו הרוחנית, הדתית והמדינית, בה חי חיי קוממיות ממלכתית.
Immediately following the proclamation, 5 Arab nations declared war on Israel, and Tel Aviv was bombed by Egypt. On Friday evening, June 27th, a special treat, celebrating Shabbat with friends old and new on the Mediterranean, watching the sunset. The next day, a drive north brought us to Caesarea. built on the port city of Caesarea of Maritima by Herod the Great between 25 to 13 BCE.
Right. This is a Roman theater, this isn't an amphitheater. And the place you entered was called Vomitarium. We don't need to translate that. People are streaming in and out. And then the place where you have the black chairs down over here, what's called the orchestra. The place back over there, what's called the Scanner. Okay, 5 and 10. So if you stopped over here, let me show you. Where was the biggest Roman military headquarters outside of Rome? Here.
The location served both as a strong military defense against invaders and control for Rome's world trade route.
What were these?
Aside from its deep harbor, Herod built elaborate storerooms, markets, roads, and spacious grounds for activities such as chariot racing.
Because this is a vulnerable point. Once they're stuck in here, they can all be killed. And we're going to see this someplace. We'll see this someplace else.
So you can, the old city of Jerusalem, and the same thing. You make your gate big enough so that the horse and the wagon can pass through. The Arabs.
The site today contains 1,000 years of history, revealed through the layers of its remains. Reminders of Roman, Byzantine, Arab, and Christian rule are marked in the layers of dirt and stone. Our first glimpse of the Sea of Galilee, alongside the city of Tiberias. It is actually a large freshwater lake, the only body of fresh water in Israel. Behind the Sea of Galilee is the Golan Heights, and behind it, the country of Syria. While difficult to see from this vantage point, it is here where the Jordan River flows into the Sea of Galilee, continuing down the country and into the Dead Sea. Safed. In the 16th century, the city became the gathering point of Jewish religious scholars and mystics, thus becoming the spiritual center of the Jewish world. During the British Mandate for Palestine, Safed was a city mixed with Arabs and Jews, where once stood its police station in the city's center. On one side was the Arab quarter, and on the other the Jewish quarter. In April 1948, sporadic shooting broke out between the two neighborhoods. A stark reminder of the violence can still be seen today by the bullet pockmarks on the side of buildings. An important reason for coming to Safed was a visit to the Yosef Karo Synagogue. Rabbi Yosef Karo was one of the most important and influential Jewish scholars of the last 1,000 years. He wrote an important book which sets out all Jewish law in clear and simple fashion. A reminder of the richness of the land's ancient history could be seen as we pass the ruins of Magdala, believed by some to be the home of Mary Magdalene, which translates to Mary of Magdala. As did passing the Church of the Beatitudes, thought to be the possible site for the Gospel of Matthew's description of the Sermon on the Mount. Between discovering the many histories of Israel, we experienced the sights and sounds of today, which included dining by the Sea of Galilee and sharing a bar mitzvah. They went to Capernaum. And when the Sabbath came, Jesus went into the synagogue and began to teach. The people were amazed at his teaching, because he taught them as one who had authority, not as the teachers of the law. Mark chapter 1, verses 21-22. Also discovered in this holy place the remains of a house believed to be built in the 2nd century. Above it sits a 5th century Byzantine church. This site was referred to by pilgrims as the House of Peter.
Archaeologists was like a dog digging for... Smile.
A time to give as we gathered in the hot Judea plains, picking tomatoes for needy families. Following a brief orientation, it was off to the fields. In a short time, we had picked 1,200 pounds of tomatoes, believed sufficient to feed 400 families. And now, a word from our rabbi. Thank you. Now off on a most unique jeep ride in the Golan Heights. This area was captured from Syria by Israel during the Six-Day War in the early days of June 1967. Just weeks later, on June 19, Israel agreed to return the land to Syria in exchange for a peace agreement. The Arab world refused the offer. Then, following the Yom Kippur War in 1967, Israel returned about 5% of the territory for Syrian control, which now constitutes a demilitarized zone under the control of the United Nations. At this very UN outpost, Syrian rebels would exchange fire with UN peacekeepers just 2 months following our visit to this site.
And maybe I never filled the wagon with
The Kinneret Cemetery, resting place for many of the founders of Israel. Many pioneers and leaders of the labor movement are buried here along the southwest side of the Sea of Galilee. Resting here include the famed Hebrew poetess Rachel, along with leading Israeli musician, singer, songwriter, lyricist Naomi Shemer, who lived in Kinneret.
Were you real or did I dream a dream?
Then Jesus came from Galilee to the Jordan to be baptized by John. But John tried to deter him, saying, "I need to be baptized by you, and do you come to me?" Jesus replied, "Let it be so now. It is proper for us to do this to fulfill all righteousness." Then John consented. Matthew chapter 3, verses 13 through 15. Okay.
A land of brooks, of water, fountains, and spring flower forth, valleys and hills. A land, and then comes the seven fruits of the land. A land of wheat and barley, of wine and fig trees, and pomegranates.
Traveling south in the heat of the Judean desert alongside the Dead Sea, we reach the historic ruins of an ancient fortification known simply as Masada, the Hebrew word for fortress. Resting high above the surrounding terrain lies a flat plateau where Herod the Great built for himself an expansive and ingeniously designed refuge. His residential palace contained ornamental bathhouses, storehouses, elaborate royal apartments, courtyards, and many rooms adorned with lavish mosaic floors.
Now what is the second thing that we do? We give up. What have we done? Are we stupid? We're a bunch of... This is the sauna. And then it would be...
Some 75 years after Herod's death, a Jewish revolt against the Roman authority took place. A band of Jewish rebels fled to the Roman fortress, taking control of the property and establishing for themselves a refuge from the Roman army. In pursuit of the rebels, the Roman 10th Division set camp at the base of the rock cliff and began building a wall with Jewish prisoners of war, allowing access to the rebels. Because it was clear they had little chance of surviving the siege, the rebels chose suicide rather than dying at the hands of the Romans or becoming Roman slaves.
There were slaves.
Lots were drawn determining assignments of who would be killed by whom, in order to avoid, to the degree possible, the Jewish prohibition of suicide. And now a time for relaxing by and in the Dead Sea. Near the northwestern shore of the Dead Sea is a national park, where once lived a Qumran settlement, as well as a location nearby of the discovery of the ancient Dead Sea Scrolls. Discovered in 11 caves between 1947 and 1956, these mostly fragmented documents contain about 500 manuscripts. The story of how the scrolls were discovered and rediscovered is a fascinating tale, and their religious and historical significance to Christian and Jewish scholars cannot be overstated.
There was an earthquake, and you're digging out the cave, and you're stopping after digging down for 3 feet, and then 3 feet and 2 inches lies who knows what.
No journey through the Judean desert is complete without a visit to Abraham's tent. this favorite tourist attraction provided a camel ride taking us all back 2,000 years BCE. Finally, we enter the ancient and modern city of Jerusalem. The National Military Cemetery for the State of Israel is named for the visionary Theodor Herzl, whose remains were moved to this site in 1949. Also resting here are the presidents, prime ministers, and chairs of the Knesset, the only exception being Ben-Gurion, who chose the desert from where he came as his final place of rest. A visit to Ramla, sister city to Kansas City, and its fabulous open-air market. Then off to Samir's, a one-of-a-kind restaurant, where we feasted upon a several-course meal.
Here's also his stuff. Oh, Eric. That's also his.
That's his religious ointment.
And here's what's left over.
Followed by a retreat to Mira's and David's kibbutz, where we stuffed ourselves with ice cream. As we next approached the Jewish section of Old Jerusalem, we were greeted by the sights and sounds of several bar mitzvah celebrations. Entering the Jewish section required going through security with women on one side and men on the other. The Western Wall, rising up along the western side of what once was the Temple Mount, considered a most sacred Jewish site for prayer and pilgrimage. Here too, women and men worship and pray separately. In the 7th century, the Arabs conquered Jerusalem, replacing the Temple Mount with the Dome of the Rock, which stands today. More recent archaeological excavations at the site have revealed what is now believed to be the actual western wall of the Temple Mount. As told in 1 Samuel chapter 17, this valley marked the location of the confrontation of David and Goliath, a story of courage and faith establishing the importance of David as the future king.
Official mound of civilization, basically in antiquity.
A most unique opportunity was afforded us as we all became junior archaeologists. We descended into a cave once home to civilizations long since past.
Okay, hold on. Okay.
That the walls hold up the ceiling. Okay? Lastly, whatever you find needs to go into a fines bucket. It does not go into your pockets, okay? Because everything needs to be checked over, see if it's important, see if there's writing on it, things like that. So it's all going to go into there.
Digging in and sifting through ancient earth rich in undiscovered artifacts, each of us discovered bits of pottery and animal bones. Discoveries to help answer questions of generations dating back to antiquity.
What you're going to do is you're going to dump it, just go flip it over, and take another bucket and keep going. We're doing first only the ones from front room. When we finish them, we're going to collect all those finds and then we'll move on to the other room.
Along with fellow Gentile Nick Hughes, Margaret and I took a side tour of some of the region's Christian sites, beginning with the Church of the Paternoster on the Mount of Olives. Located just north of the tombs of the prophets, it is believed to be the site where Christ taught the Lord's Prayer described in Luke chapter 11, verses 2 through 4. Along the walls, the prayer is scribed in several languages. This modern Roman Catholic church is built on the site of a 4th century basilica designed by Constantine I to celebrate the Ascension of Jesus Christ. At the foot of the Mount of Olives, we visited the Garden of Gethsemane, where the Gospels describe Jesus praying while his disciples slept the night he was arrested on the evening before his crucifixion. It is remarkable to realize that some of the olive trees we see today may have been seen by Jesus and his followers that fateful night. At the garden can be found a Roman Catholic church known as the Church of All Nations, also known as the Basilica of Agony. Enshrined within is a bedrock upon which it is believed Jesus prayed before his arrest.
So we're heading right now, guys, to Bethlehem.
Bethlehem today is governed by the Palestinian National Authority. The Church of the Nativity is believed to sit above the cave where the birth of Jesus of Nazareth occurred. Entering this holy place, the sounds of renovation can be heard as we made our way to the ornate Greek Orthodox portion of the church's main level. Then descending down to the crowded Grotto of the Nativity, where we are told is the exact spot where Jesus was nursed by Mary,
Look over here backward.
and the exact spot where his birth took place. Also can be found a Catholic cathedral on the main floor of the Church of the Nativity. Just east of Bethlehem is Shepherd's Field, long believed to be the site where shepherds saw the star of the Nativity. Here was once an ancient cave used for shelter by the shepherds, now a gathering place for worshiping. The original rocky remains of the cave's opening can clearly be seen. In the Christian section of the Old City of Jerusalem is marked the 10 stations of the cross, where Jesus walked on the way to his crucifixion. The route used today was established in the 18th century, therefore its total accuracy is doubtful. But nonetheless, it serves as an important destination for Christian pilgrimage. Stations 1 and 2. The Trial of Jesus by Pontius Pilate. Station 3. Jesus falls for the first time. Station 4. Jesus meets his mother. Station 5. Simon of Cyrene helps Jesus carry the cross. Station 6. Veronica wipes the face of Jesus. Station 7. Jesus falls for the second time. The final stations where Jesus is nailed to the cross. Dies on the cross. Where he is stripped of his garments, which are laid out on this stone. And where he is laid in the tomb. Home of the Israeli government, the Knesset. On the entrance to the grounds, a sculpture of barbed wire fences in memory of the Holocaust. Nearby, a wreath sculpture commemorating the war dead. Across the street, a special menorah sculpture, a gift from the United Kingdom in 1956, depicting important events and characters from Jewish history.
Everybody talks to God, and God didn't change it. When Jacob wanted to marry even it's Lord, this. I mean, you read it, I read it. Well, old enough to
The Israel Museum is among the world's leading art and archaeological repositories. A most impressive model of Jerusalem depicting the city in 66 CE covers nearly an acre in size. While more recent archaeological finds have uncovered some errors in this recreation, the model largely represents the ancient city as it appeared at its peak. The museum is replete with archaeological discoveries, including remnants of the Dead Sea Scrolls, as well as a wide array of Jewish art and nearly 50,000 important cultural objects. Traveling along the West Bank, we witnessed Palestinian settlements on one side of the highway and Jewish settlements on the other. Rabbi Nemitov gave us a challenge. What three things are unique to the Palestinian settlements? 1. Flat roof construction, allowing current and future generations to live together. 2. The familiar minaret towers announcing calls to prayer. Third, and a bit more subtle, the individual water towers on Palestinian homes painted black as opposed to the Jewish towers, which are white. The West Bank is a patchwork of Jewish and Palestinian settlements and governmental controls. The Oslo II Accord established three different authorities: Palestinian control, joint Jewish and Palestinian control, and Jewish control, making challenging times by all in the region. Indeed, during our tour, trouble was beginning to boil up with the kidnapping and murder of 3 Jewish students in the West Bank, followed by the kidnapping and burning alive of a young Arab boy in Jerusalem. Each morning, our guide Romy gave us an update as to the ongoing events.
So it hasn't been an easy weekend. And hopefully it will, it will calm down.
Sadly, it didn't.
I'd like to read a poem.
Gathering for a goodbye luncheon, as some continued on while others went separate ways.
Called On Arriving and Leaving Ben Gurion Airport. Give me 5 more years away from Israel. I will go back home to make and save my money so that when I come back home again, life will be uncomplicated. And I can spend as many of my days as I want at Lod with a barrel of honey and a vat of milk to sprinkle on the runway. I want those who kiss the holy concrete to taste how very sweet this homeland has become. This place has become our home for the last 10 days. And I hope that you have discovered how sweet it tastes, and that each of you will want to return at some point, whether walking a lot or walking less.
Several of us continued on to Eilat, Israel, and further adventures. A day trip to a new country, Jordan, on our way to historic Petra. Also called Rose City due to the color of its stone, we walked through beautifully striking rock-cut architecture, carved by an ancient Arab Nabatean civilization.
Something like a fish from their friend, Saul, Andrew.
Along the way, I made a friend of one of the children aggressively selling postcards.
And I know that's so special that I give you free time for boarding there. But these friends, our plan, we go there, Sally, and first we gather, we talk about it, then I give you free time.
If the landscape looks familiar, it might be because it was a featured location for scenes from the film Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Yes, you could see it's a mixture of different civilizations. You could see, for example, the upper parts more the Greek style, huh?
One of our last treats was a fun day on the Red Sea.
Take out your territory. Go, go.
As all journeys must, ours came to an end, but not without a bit of drama. As we pulled up to Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv, we heard the warning siren as a missile from Israel's Iron Dome was in pursuit of an incoming missile from the Gaza Strip. This required us to abandon our van and luggage and rush into the airport, where we were directed to the airport's shelter several floors below ground level. Soon the all-clear was given, and with surprising quickness, the airport resumed its business as usual, as if nothing had happened. Despite this alarming foreshadowing of what would become a 7-week war, it could not take away from a fabulous visit to a most remarkable region of the world, where we made new discoveries and acquired new friends.